Howdy AP PreCal, it is Ms. Kosh. This is the last of my videos for day 2. I think, did it take us 3 videos? Anyway, and we're going to talk about end behavior, but one thing, my guess is my kids coming out of Algebra 2 saw end behavior, but you didn't use limit notation. Well, now AP PreCal wants you to use limit notation. So what happens here, so I made this lovely little chart, I hope you like this. I want to talk about the degree and the sign of the leading coefficient, a possible sketch. Notice it can do all kinds of weird stuff in the middle. And if Desmos would give me arrows, that would make my life easier, but it doesn't. And then I'm going to talk about the end behavior in limit notation, which looks something like this, which we'll talk about. And then I want you to be able to read this properly, okay? So on this first one, if it has an odd degree, that means it ends up doing different things. But if it has a positive leading coefficient, tells me that it ends going positive, okay? So, but if it's an odd degree, it also, it'll do something, who knows, whatever it does, but it ends up going some negative on the other. They do opposite things. As x goes to positive infinity, y goes to positive infinity. As x goes to negative infinity, y goes to negative infinity. But we're going to use limit notation, which tells us the limit as x goes to, going this way, is negative infinity of our function f of x is equal to negative infinity. And so we read this notation just the way that I wrote it. The limit as x, so I think I wrote it here, the limit as x goes to, in this case, negative infinity, of what? Of this right here, of f of x equals negative infinity. And then we can also say the limit as x goes to positive infinity, so as it's going this way, it's going up, so it's the limit as x goes to positive infinity of f of x equals positive infinity. And it kind of matters, well, not kind of, it matters how we write this, okay? So typically, I mean, it's kind of funny that the computer typed it just directly underneath the word limit. I usually see it kind of underneath both parts, but anyway, there we go. Okay, I don't feel like writing this out, but it's going to be something like that. So pause the video and write whatever you need to write so that you learn how, when you see this, you want to say it like mathematicians say it. Okay, so now on this one also has an odd degree, but instead of as x increases, our y is decreasing, so this has a negative leading coefficient. And so we can say here the limit as x goes to negative infinity of f of x is going to be equal to, as we went to negative infinity, we went up, our y value went up, so it goes to positive infinity. The limit as x goes to positive infinity of f of x is equal to, this one is going down, negative infinity. Okay, so go back and listen to how I said those. The next one, this is telling us, as I go to negative infinity, I go to positive infinity, so I'm coming up. As I go to positive infinity, I go to positive infinity, I'm coming up. So I'm going to do something, who knows what the graph does in between there. But it could look something like that. And so this, when they do the same thing, that means it's an even degree. Notice I'm writing even degree and not even. My previous video, we discussed what an actual even function is, and this one doesn't have symmetry over the y-axis. And so it's an even degree, but not an even function. And it has a positive leading coefficient. So we read this, the limit as x approaches or goes to negative infinity of f of x equals infinity. The limit as x goes to infinity of f of x equals infinity. The last one, they're telling us the limit as, let's write this out, the limit as x goes to negative infinity of f of x is negative infinity, I ran out of space. Okay, and the limit as x goes to infinity of f of x is equal to negative infinity. I ran out of space again, which is telling us that our graph is doing something. Who knows what it's doing in the middle? Okay, I got a little silly, but there we go. Oh, we need arrows. And so this is an even degree one also. And it has a negative leading coefficient. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Let's look at some of these examples. So I like to do this on purpose, where we have 2 x's here, we have another and another. So we have 4 x's total. So this would be degree 4. Okay, which is even. But now the question is, what's happening with the leading coefficient? Well, what I did to you on purpose is that I could factor out a -1, and then it becomes an x minus 5. And so now ultimately, if I were to multiply all these x's together, I get a negative. And I did that on purpose. So it's even, it's an even degree function with a negative leading coefficient, which means even degree negative coefficient means I should write this in my box. The limit as x goes to negative infinity of f of x is negative infinity. The limit as x goes to infinity of f of x equals negative infinity. So this is exactly what I should write here, and I'm feeling lazy. Okay, sorry. This one, okay, so I just switched the order around. We have an odd degree and a negative leading coefficient. Odd degree negative, which should give us this. So we'll say the limit, except now we would say, okay, I'll write this one. The limit as x goes to negative infinity of g of x is equal to, what did we say? Positive infinity. And the limit as x goes to positive infinity of g of x is equal to negative infinity. Could you see that? I'm sorry. Okay, they also like to use this description. Describe the end behavior as the input value decreases without bounds. So they like to say stuff like input value decreases or increases. Decreases means that we're going to negative infinity. Increases would mean we're going to positive infinity. Okay, so we're saying here the limit as x decreases, so goes to negative infinity of f of x. Well, let's see. This is an even degree. Notice there's the largest degree and it's negative. So we're going to, even degree and negative is going to do something like this. So we're going to negative infinity. All right, like, subscribe, comment, all the things, and stick around. I will be making more videos as the year goes on. All right, go practice.